Hey guys, this is OddOneGaming. This is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. So if you've been following my channel for quite a while, you've seen that I've done quite a few videos on the clan boss and specifically on the Bateater team and the different variations for different champions, because the Bateater team is one of the easiest ones to build for the sake of doing the clan boss, and that's the team that requires 2 man-eaters, a seeker and a painkeeper, and then at the end you can use any DPS that you want. You can be relentless, you can do whatever you want. I have like several of them. I had like 6 or 7 I think already on my channel, so I decided to do basically like in my opinion who are like the top 10 DPSs for the sake of that team specifically. And obviously there might be some people which I don't already have videos on those ones, but if you do want me to make a video with those DPSs, I'm gonna try and see if I do have them on my account and I'm gonna make a video on it. But let's start with this one specifically, like number 1 as in my opinion I think is the best DPS, and then after that it's in no particular order. I'm not saying this is number 1, 2, 3. The number 1 is straight up in my opinion Akrisia. Like Akrisia, she's one of the new ones that we kind of have seen a lot recently on YouTube, the madness that she can bring. So because she's so crazy for the sake of Hydra and she's so crazy for the sake of the Fire Knight, guess what? She's insane even for the sake of the Demon Lord clan boss. Like her damage is pretty bonkers, and honestly it's mostly all about her passive. The fact that she does, if the enemy that she attacks has double her HP, she will straight up do damage based on max HP, which only scales from crit damage. That means that it makes it extremely easy to build her. You just give her the right speed, a ton of crit damage and some accuracy, because she also brings a decreased defense on her A1. Like honestly, she just slams really hard. Doesn't matter with what skill she hits, she does some crazy numbers. So in my opinion, Chris is straight up number 1 up there, and being void is obviously amazing because you're gonna wonky on it, doesn't matter the affinity. The only one which might be bad for you is force because of seeker. Everything else, trust me, it's gonna be a wonky. If you have a decent enough build, you're always gonna wonky the Bateater with Akrisia. Then the second one, honestly, since we're here close by, let's jump into Shadowkin. This is one of the ones that's honestly pretty crazy, and that's Ninja. Like Ninja, I know it's a little bit of a, he's a little bit of a taboo because he was just obtainable for a limited time only like a year ago or something like that, and nowadays people don't have him. So sometimes people might be like, oh, I wish I had a Ninja. The reason for this is Ninja's a boss slayer. He's straight up a boss slayer. If you see one of like most of the best teams for sake of Gintoro bosses or whatever, like some crazy damages for the sake of the clan boss, it's Ninjas in there. It's all about his A2. This does some crazy damage from the HP burn explosions, but at the same time it can hit really hard. He also brings decreased defense on the A1, and also the passive. The passive makes his damage keep scaling up and up and up. I mean, normally if you have a Ninja, I would recommend to people not to lock in for the sake of Bateater, but if you cannot wonky with anything else, then go for Ninja because he's pretty crazy. He does some insane damage. But if you can afford to do it without him, take him out, build him in the regen. He can do some crazy stuff in soloing the dragon when you get to the boss part if you have a speed run, or some other insane stuff for the sake of the bosses. That's what I'm using at least. Another one that actually I didn't really write on the list, but like let me just throw him in there, and that's Michinaki. He's one of the newest ones added to the game, and for him it's pretty simple. He brings HP burn on the A1, he brings decreased defense and decreased attack on the A2 if Hex is under there. He can remove buffs. You don't really care about this one, but he places the Hex. You kind of care about this. And then he has a chance to always ally attack. Like whenever an ally attacks the clan boss. This doesn't work on counterattacks, just like default skills or whatever, but he has a chance to constantly join the attack. He's maybe not, I mean, he can still do some crazy damage because of joining the attack and bringing that that decreased defense, but he might be losing a little bit in this specific team because he's defense based, and this team has seeker that brings increased attack. So he's still gonna do like some crazy damage. He can still take you to the wonky, but maybe it's not as good as an Akrisia or Ninja, for example. Then another one that can make it pretty easy to be wonky like on all affinities, that's, you know, one of the OGs, and that's Dracomorph. Dracomorph again is one of those that brings the specific simple kits that you need for the sake of the Demon Lord, and that's decreased defense and weaken, that is placed, so it doesn't matter on affinity. For example, Ninja, if you face force affinity, you might not always wonky if he doesn't land his decreased defenses or his HP bumps, you know, but with Draco, he always lands the decreased defense and the weaken. Then he also brings 4 poisons, like these ones, yes, he can weak hit if he faces force, but still, he throws 4 out there, he's gonna land them most of the time. And then on the A1, he can do a big smack the more debuffs there are on the target. So for example, if you have a full debuff bar, and he does the A1, he's gonna smack for like 200, 300, 400,000 on the A1. So he's definitely one of the best, the best there for the sake of the Bateater. Now let's jump into another one. Let's go back down. Let's jump back into the Shadow King, because I just had him lower on the list. And that's Gintoro. Gintoro is again another one of those Shadow King that can dish out some insane amounts of damage, especially because of his A3. This one's a little bit fun. So this one attacks one enemy, places decreased defense and weaken, but every 5th time he does this attack, he will attack, let's see, will attack 5 times. So every 4th time, so the 4th time he uses this, he does 5 attacks. And you can see damage that goes to like 1 million, 1.5 million whenever he does that. And the nice thing about this is it's really well paired with his A2, which you need to prioritize for the sake of the clan boss, because sometimes he might not do it. But this one on bosses, he basically puts his A3 on a lower cooldown, because you cannot steal turn meter. Every time he does the A2, boom, he decreases to now the A3 and comes back to this one. Also, he has some funky things with the passive. Do bear in mind, I have specific videos for Gintoro and for Ninja for the sake of the Bateater. They need some different speed. They don't have the standard speeds of like 265, 240, 248, 239 for the supports. They need a little bit of a different variation because of Gintoro, his passive over here, and Ninja because of his A1 gaining turn meter. So keep that in mind if you ever want to build a Bateater. Check out the specific variation for them. I have them both on my channel. If you want to check, just write, you know, go on my channel, go search and write Ninja Bateater or Gintoro Bateater, and you're gonna find them there. But yeah, Gintoro is definitely one of those beast ones that can do some crazy damage. He's not gonna get an extra turn because he's not gonna kill the boss, but still, he can do some really nice damage in there. Now let's talk about somebody that's, you know, a lot of people maybe still sleep on him and don't know much about this guy, but he started shining a lot ever since the AI preset, and he's one of the few ones that, you know, with decent, not insane gear, but he's one of the very few ones that if you have decent gear can make it be an easy one key, and that's Ragnaros Goldgleam. I really like this guy. Like, this is he's the one that Ivy League Gaming uses as her main DPS, and I understand why, because, you know, I've tested him myself. I made a video on this Bateater as well with him myself, and the reason for it is like he brings decreased defense and weaken on the A3 and also puts increased attack on himself. This one can help in situations if he gets extra turns and he runs out of the increased attack from Seeker. He can be really good with this one, but it's all about his A1 as well. He brings a leech. The Bateater works on the damage done by doing the counterattacks. And the way you do the counterattacks, it's all about the mastery that says every time you lose 25% of your HP or more in a single hit, you have a chance of counterattacking. So you would want to have as much HP as possible. Most of the times you can proc that mastery. But guess what? Ragnaros Goldgleam bringing the leech helps you do that, because every time, if there's leech out there, every time you do a War Master hit, you almost heal to full. So he comes perfect in that with this leech, with a decreased defense and weaken. This passive reduces the cooldown of his A3 to which is normally on a 4-turn cooldown. Let me move myself a little bit to the side. I hope I didn't cover too many of the skills previously, guys. I apologize. But yeah, he can have this almost all the time on the boss. You just need to lock his A2. Lock his A2 in the presets on the clan boss when you do the run, and you're good to go. And you're gonna see some beautiful stuff in there. You might not see Ragnar doing crazy damage, but he boosts everybody else's damage because of the leech, decreased defense, and weaken. So keep that in mind. Keep Ragnar in mind if you're ever building one of those. Okay, now let's jump back up here with another one that's a little bit interesting and weird to do. And honestly, I cannot see any other space in the game for this champion. Maybe you guys have an idea. Leave it in the comments below if you do use Balonor for anything else in the game. But I feel like Balonor is specifically a Bateater DPS champion, and he can bring some interesting combinations in there because he brings a lead of 24. He increases the crit rate by 24 of all allies, so you can put him in the lead, which means you can drop every other champion's crit rate to 76%. But there's more. Whenever he does his A1, he has a chance of placing 30% increased crit rate on all allies every time he crits. What does this mean? This means you can run it even a little bit trickier. You can drop another 30. So instead of running all your champions at, what would I say, 76, you can run them at like 46. You drop another 30. Imagine having everybody at 40%, 46% crit rate. Imagine how much extra damage you can stack on them. But that's not all that he does. He also brings a decreased defense and weaken in his kit on a 3-turn cooldown, which is pretty good. You would lock out his A3 because you don't really care about this one. This doesn't do that much damage. So he will keep doing the A2, A1, A2, A1 all the time, which means you will have, you know, it might not be 100% of the time that you have the increased crit rate on, but I'm quite sure it's, you know, 80% of the time at least you're gonna have the increased crit rate on. Plus with this one, it should be, you know, this makes it pretty easy. Makes it pretty easy to one-key with Balonor. Then another one is in the Sacred Order, Venus. She's a little bit, you know, she has an amazing kit, but she doesn't, you know, from what I've seen, her damage output compared with what she helps with the others, it's kind of the same as a Ragnaros, or maybe a little bit better, even though she brings HP burn on the A3, maybe now after the buff, because I think when I tested her, I tested before the buff and she didn't have this as consistent. But she brings HP burn, she brings decreased defense and weaken, and she brings poisons on the A1. So she kind of brings everything you want for the sake of a DPS, and also she brings a lead, not that you really care that much, but still. She's pretty insane. Again, she was really helpful because she's void, makes it easy to one-key on whatever affinity, because you don't care about affinity, as the other man-eaters and Paykeeper are like, you have 4 void champions, you know, apart from Seeker, there's magic, you'll have 4 void champions. So Venus is definitely one of those that deserves a shout-out. But one thing I want to mention about Venus, if you don't have like a lady or somebody else, I'm not sure you would want to lock your Venus for the sake of the Bateater, as you might want to decrease defense and weaken AoE and the HP burn for other areas of the game, so keep that in mind as well. Then another one that's been used quite a lot, and she used to be like, you know, the go-to for people that only had epics, and that's Fane. Fane has a pretty simple kit. She's extremely squishy, which makes her good for the sake of, you know, unkillable comps. You wouldn't bring her in a killable comp because look at that defense. But she brings straight up simple decreased defense weaken on her A3 for 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. She will come pretty fast to it because of the relentless that you would try to put on her. If not, you go on a 2-to-1 ratio anyway, so you would have the decreased defense weaken on all the time. And then she also brings 2 poisons over here with the decreased attack. You don't really care about the decreased attack, but the poisons are really good, and on the A1 she has a double hitter. She's one of the ones where people run her either with Giant Slayer or with War Master. I still recommend War Master, as she has, okay, triple hitter here, but single hitter here, double hitter here, so, you know, I would say War Master, but in the end you decide. But yeah, she's definitely one of the ones that people use a lot. And since we're at the same affinity spirit, let's look at the Undead. You also have Aina that can do the same thing. He brings weaken on the A3, poisons on the A2, decreased defense on the A1, but he has an interesting passive. Again, for the sake of Aina, he has a different variation, like you need some different speeds on your team. Again, if I remember correctly, I have the Aina Bateater variation posted on my YouTube, so again, just search Aina Bateater and you're gonna find it, and you're gonna see what different speeds you need, because you need a little bit of some different stuff. Because of this one, whenever he drops below 10%, he gets an extra turn, and that can happen randomly, and he might cut in too fast, so keep that in mind if you're gonna use him. But Aina can dish out some crazy damage. Like, he's mostly a good DPS for the sake of like block damage comps. You might have a Hellcat, you might have a Roche card, but he can still work in the Bateater as well. Then let's talk about, I want to really talk about the last one, because she's one of the ones that I did recently on my channel. She recently got a buff, and I feel like she deserves, you know, she deserves some love, because she can bring the kit that, you know, some other champions bring. You might not have the Fane, you might not have the Ragnaros, the Ainax, but you might have Aina. What she brings is pretty simple. Decrease the defense on her A3. That's on a 3-turn cooldown. She brings a weaken on the A2. Again, 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. This one's on a 4-turn cooldown. But with the Relentless and with her A1, she's gonna keep those debuffs on all of the time. The A1 also has a chance of granting her an extra turn, which obviously can be nice, because in this type of team, you can get extra turns, because that's how the Bateater works. You can have a Relentless, do Relentless alongside with this A1. She can keep getting turns and turns and turns and turns. But yeah, this is gonna be it for my top 10. I guess, well, 11, because we squeezed Michinaki in there for a little bit. But yeah, if you guys think that I missed somebody that deserves to be on the list that I didn't mention, just leave it in the comments below, and maybe at a later stage when I'm gonna do an updated list, because, you know, this one's for November 2022. Who knows what else they're gonna release, and the list would change. But yeah, if you have somebody that you think I missed, leave it in the comments below, and I'm gonna keep him in mind. Make sure to add him to my next list. But yeah, this is gonna be it for the video today, guys. If you do enjoy my content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you on the next one. Peace, love, take care everyone. Bye, guys.